You'll be pretty surprised by some of these steps I took, especially number 5. It's not about removing meals. I don't have a harsh hammer approach to any of this. I don't know what's going to happen when I try this. And even my doctor said, don't do this. It's dangerous. It's not easy though. Like, it's not easy. Welcome back. My name's Cass and this is Everyday Cass. I love using food as medicine, cleaner alternatives for my home. If that interests you, definitely subscribe to this channel. Today, however, I really wanted to jump into the 7 steps that I ended up taking to not only better my health, but I ended up losing over 40 pounds of postpartum weight. These steps are not about dieting. They're not specific about weight loss. They're more about having a sustainable lifestyle choice that's not rooted in any type of restrictive dieting or tons of exercise. I didn't do any of that. The first one I wanted to talk to you about is breastfeeding. Now, not all of you are going to be breastfeeding, and that is definitely okay and is a personal choice whether you want to or not. But I will say it is really interesting. One being it releases oxytocin, which helps the hormones retract the uterus as your baby is breastfeeding. So it definitely sped up that recovery, definitely helped get my abdominals back together much faster, and I saw really great results with that. The other one that's people talk about a lot is when you breastfeed, you burn a lot of calories. Now, I'm not one who counts calories whatsoever. 1 calorie is not equal to another calorie, but definitely I was hungry a lot more, I ate a lot more while I was breastfeeding, so you could definitely see that I was burning a lot more energy, and so I definitely utilized that aspect of breastfeeding as well. The other one, which I kind of knew about but I didn't realize how much it was going to affect my body and my hormones, was breastfeeding releases this other hormone called prolactin, and that kind of delays your menstrual cycle, which potentially helps in weight loss because it delays ovulation. Okay, number 2 is simple but really effective, and that is walking. Every day I get out for about 30 minutes a day. Okay, number 3. Number 3 is not as hard as you think it is, and it's focused around nutrition. Prior to becoming pregnant, I kind of adopted a more lower carb, lower sugar lifestyle. It doesn't feel like a diet to me because there's so many delicious alternatives to breads and granulated sugar. It has opened this incredible ingredient list that I wasn't even aware of when I was cooking. I'm a much more creative cook now. I enjoy so much more flavors and spices. This diet really focuses on whole foods, non-processed, and I look at food so differently as well. So I would say if you're interested in kind of adopting this lower carb, lower sugar lifestyle, I'll put a link in the description below for my website, which will have a bunch of recipes that I use every week, and I'm continuing to add more and more recipes, so definitely keep looking. I think in the nutrition kind of category, it goes without saying, if you take away processed foods, a lot of your breads and higher carbs, you're gonna lose some weight. And this one definitely aided in all the other things that I was doing. And when I'm on a lower carb, lower sugar diet, my energy levels are so much more stable, and I don't have those highs and lows that you get from more carb related diet. Okay, number 4 kind of hops into this same category, which is homemade meals. I know how hard it is. You just had a baby. The last thing you want is to be standing in a kitchen cooking a bunch of meals. I got one of those little baby carriers. She would sleep on me and I was cooking again, and then I was able to make really nutritious food to fuel myself and to fuel her since I was breastfeeding. One thing that I did do, because you don't have a ton of time when you're a new mom, is I made a lot of bulk meals, so big pots of soups and chilies and stews and things like that, so I could have healthy alternatives in the freezer, in the fridge, on the go if needed. as well as plenty of like lentil salads, having things that you can snack on that are healthier alternatives. I had tons of nuts and seeds, just a fruit as well. It's not easy though, like it's not easy. So number 5, okay, this is the one that I was most excited to talk to you guys about, is fasting, specifically intermittent fasting. And I had been doing intermittent fasting for the past, I would say 7 years. And even my doctor said, don't do this. Your milk supply will go down. You'll have no energy. It's dangerous. Really how I did intermittent fasting was just I controlled the windows where I ate. I didn't do past a 20-hour fast really ever. I was mostly eating because I was like, oh, I don't want my milk supply to go down. They said I have to eat a lot more calories and all this stuff. So it was more like fear-based eating almost. And then I was like, okay, wait. Humans have been around for how long? And we were hunter and gatherers. Like, we did not always have food on demand. How did women feed their children? I was like, okay, I'm going to do between 10 to 16 hour fast 2 to 3 times a week and see how it goes and see what happens to my milk supply. Really keeping an eye on that and keeping an eye on my mood, my hormones. I could not believe the results. Not only did my milk supply go up, but I didn't feel as hormonal on the days that I was fasting, and I had so much more energy. I had a lot more alertness. I was less mama brain, but I felt really good those days that I was doing the fasting. So if I had to break down my full fasting routine, it kind of looked like I would try not to eat about 2 hours before I went to bed. My eating period was between 6 and I would say around 6 to 8 hours of eating. And I ate the same amount of food that I was kind of eating throughout a smaller amount of time. I found it easier than I thought. It's not about removing meals, it's about eating the same amount but just in a shorter period of time. Coming near the end, 2 more. Number 6, okay, you're gonna laugh at this one, but sleep. Sleep was probably the hardest thing for me at the beginning because I didn't get it. And maybe you're in that right now and you're not getting sleep. So here is how kind of our sleep routine evolved with the baby. She would not sleep unless she was in one of our arms. So we would take turns sleeping at night at first and in between feeding. So basically I got no sleep. So every 30 minutes she was up eating and then I would get maybe 10 minutes of shut eye. Like that was kind of the system for the first few weeks. And then I was like, oh my God, I am so tired. I cannot sustain this. And I had a really hard birth experience. I just had this like biological, what I think is a biological urge to have her next to me in bed. But I kept thinking to myself, everyone has said co-sleeping is so dangerous, don't do it. But I did a ton of research before attempting any of this. What I found was that they've done studies on breastfeeding mamas that mom and baby actually sync up. Their brains sync up where when baby's in deep sleep, mom's actually goes into deep sleep. And when baby goes into light sleep, mom's already in light sleep. And that later on made so much sense to me because before she would even move, I was already awake, and was right there. And she never like tried to crawl away from me in the bed. No, she was hungry, so she would turn over to just get some milk. And what this allowed was I didn't have to get up out of bed every time she was hungry and feed and wake myself up. We were able to feed throughout the night and go back to sleep. It feels so natural. Cave people didn't say, okay, baby, you go sleep at the other end of the cave. I'll be over here. No, that was a survival need of babies to cry out for their mom or dad when they're alone because they cannot defend themselves. It makes sense why they want to be so close to us at night. They're sleeping when they're at their most vulnerable. That's what we decided, and There is research that says, obviously, if you're not breastfeeding and if you've chosen bottle feeding, that you don't sync up the same way. The research is a bit inconsistent, so this is why it's really important to do your own research and figure out what's best for you and your family. It's number 7, which is your mindset and self-compassion. I know this video is titled about, how I lost 40 pounds in 6 months postpartum, and but although yeah, I did, I've lost this weight and I feel healthier. It's not so much about weight loss, and it's not specific about being what you were before you were pregnant. My body might not ever be the same, and I'm okay with that because my body went through an incredible transformation. I remember when I first looked at myself and I did not recognize who I was. Just everything looked and felt different, and I think that was hard on me. I didn't recognize myself, and I had to figure out how to recognize myself again. I don't know, it's a really hard concept to talk about, and I don't know if you relate to this. Definitely drop a comment below if you've gone through this. It took a while to get my mindset into this place of having to rediscover what felt like me again. So I think during this time, most importantly, giving yourself that self-compassion, that kindness, being really gentle with yourself overall. You feel like there's this microscope on you when you become a mom, and you do feel judged by a lot of people, and your choices are constantly being like, oh, do you really want to do that? Oh, you should do this. Oh, you should do that. You have to be able to know who you are, feel strong within yourself, and that can be really hard when you look in the mirror and you don't even recognize yourself, to feel strong within yourself. I guess that's what I'm trying to get to. Like any of these topics, I am not a doctor, so definitely speak to a healthcare professional before you make huge changes, especially while you're postpartum. Okay, well that kind of wraps up today's video. I hope this was informative, interesting to you. Definitely stick around for more videos. Put a few links down below to my website and blog, where you can find recipes, where I shop for my home essentials, and the article I wrote on today's topic.